Hi guys, welcome or welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Rauha and I'm from a beautiful country called Namibia. Today's video, as per title, I'll be talking about my experience traveling with an African passport. So for those of you who don't know, I am from Namibia and this is what the Namibian passport looks like. So it is actually green and currently we are getting passports for 10 years, which I think is so amazing. And our passports currently cost 400 Namibian dollars. I stand to be corrected, but I remember that's what I paid. So my passport is new. I just got it this year because my passport was actually stolen. And so it's valid for 10 years as I speak. So one of the benefits of actually having a passport with that much of validity on it is that a lot of people forget that if you have a passport and you are traveling and you have less than 6 months on your passport, you will not be allowed to enter that country. Basically, the only thing that will happen to you is that you will be deported. So always keep in mind that when you travel, your passport has to have more than 6 months on it. And what do I mean by that? So usually, if you go to your data page is the page where you've got your picture, your name, surname, issue date, expiry date, etc. So the expiry date should not be less than 6 months. So starting from now, the day that you arrive in that country, you need to have more. Your passport should be expiring in more than 6 months. If it's less, they'll deport you. And there's absolutely no other solution than deporting you. I've seen this a lot during my stay, especially in Malaysia. I've had people calling me, what can we do? Can you help? Can you do this? Can you call the embassy? Even the embassy cannot help you. So please take note, you guys, when you travel, regardless of which country you're going to, make sure your passport does not expire in less than 6 months. It is a rule of thumb, so please take note. Right, so traveling with a Namibian passport. So I have to clarify, I've never really had actual issues traveling with a Namibian passport, and I'll explain why. First things first, when I first started traveling, I had a student visa, right? Now, going to the country that has issued me the student visa, that just means that they understand that I'm a student in their country, so there's no way that they would try to create issues for me at the immigration counters at the airport. The second thing is that later on, when I got my working visa, I also did not face any issues because, again, they understand that you're an expat in their country and you have a reason, an actual reason as to why you're going to that country. So they will not try to disrespect you or give you issues at the immigration counters. What they'll do is just really stamp your passport, welcome you into the country, and then you are basically free to go, right? And now, when you are traveling to other countries, not the country where you are working or studying, it also kind of makes it easier when you have a student or a working visa. And this is why. They understand that even if you are traveling, let's say to Singapore, right? Let's say you study in China, but you are traveling to Singapore. As soon as they see your passport, they understand that, one, you are a student, which means that you actually going back to studying in China. You are not just coming to Singapore to overstay or do something funny, right? They understand that you're a student, so definitely you are going back to China to continue your studies. And if you have a working visa from China, for example, they also understand that since you're an expat in China, you are more likely to go back to China to continue your job. Because I feel like a lot of countries, their concern is that you do not want to return to your country, and that's why you're coming to their country, and that's not what they want. Because a lot of countries are avoiding illegal immigrants or people that come in with let's say tourist visas, and then later on they don't leave. They just stay there until their visas expire, their tourist visas expire. So again, when I started traveling in Europe, right? So I actually had my Schengen visa, or I got my Schengen visa. Now, I had requested for a 3-month Schengen visa. You can actually put the dates that you want when you apply for your Schengen visa. So I had actually asked for 3 months, and that's what I got. So when you get an approval for your Schengen visa, it also kind of puts a nice status on your passport because it is not, I don't think it's that hard to get a Schengen visa, but it can obviously be a little bit hard. But it's something that is very doable. I've made a video on how you guys can apply for a Schengen visa yourself without using an agent. So do check out that video. So I had a Schengen visa, and when I got to Germany, because that was my point of entry, I actually entered through Germany. When I arrived in Germany, they did not actually ask me much. But what they did ask me is, how long am I going to stay, and do I have a return ticket? Upon which I answered them. And then they asked me, do you have proof of funds on you? And I said yes. And he asked me how much, and I told him. I thought he would ask to see it. He did not. He just said, okay, do you have your credit card or debit card with you? I said, yes, I do. And how much is on your cards? And I told him the figure, the estimated figure, because I did not do the conversions prior coming to the counter. And then he just said, okay, it's fine. Enjoy your stay. Right. So now, I have to let you guys know. Oh, he also actually scanned through my passport, and he was like, oh, you used to work in Malaysia. And I said, oh, yes, I did. And then he said, oh, okay, that's nice. Enjoy your stay. Now, I have to tell you guys that regardless of the passport that you have, immigration officers can be very, very unpredictable. But you have to expect some common questions. And definitely one of the questions will be, how long are you going to stay? Do you have a return ticket? Do you have proof of funds? Do you have proof of accommodation or an invitation letter? These are very important questions, and I can really understand why. Because if you're claiming to be a tourist, definitely you should be able to prove where you're going to stay, whether you do actually have sufficient money to eat and travel around and see places, because you're a tourist, right? So you should be able to prove that you can actually afford these little expenditures like transport, food, and so forth. And then proof of accommodation. If you don't have an invitation letter, you should be able to prove that you've got a place booked, whether it's a hostel, hotel, an Airbnb, whatever the case. Or if you've got a place where you're staying, like a cousin's place, let them write you an invitation letter so that you don't have to prove that you've got a place booked. Okay. And then obviously a return ticket. A return ticket is very important because this is what you use to prove that I am not here to stay. I'm here to travel and leave. That's really important. And that's really why they always ask people if you have a return ticket. A lot of countries will ask you that. So generally, I don't think Namibians, we really have that big of an issue while traveling with a Namibian passport. Because first of all, a lot of Namibians don't travel that much. So when immigration officers tend to meet Namibians, they are rather surprised. Like, oh, Namibia. Some of them know Namibia, but they've not had an encounter with Namibians at their airports. So what comes to their mind really is just, like, oh, a Namibian passport. Oh, okay, all right, but they're not like, for example, if you hold this passport, this is a Nigerian passport. Once they see this passport, it's a red flag, sadly, which shouldn't be the case, but like it's a red flag. So if you're holding a Namibian passport, I don't think like they are suspicious of you or anything. I don't know about the UK, since we've had issues with the UK. When I went to the UK, that was like a long time ago, and I didn't have issues because we were not that popular yet. But now, as it is in the UK, I think if you're going to the UK, you need to be really, really, really prepared. As it is, we had 6 months free visa, and now we don't have visa free at all. You need to apply for a visa before you can even be allowed to go to the UK, from 6 months to nothing, which is so sad, but it is actually factual. So yeah, depending obviously on the passport that you hold, that will determine a lot at the immigration counter. So for Namibians, I think people are usually just like surprised that they are meeting us and that they are seeing us. And because we've not been like problematic in a lot of countries, they usually don't look at us like in a suspicious manner, or that we are here to do something bad, etc. So you guys, please don't ruin it for us. Don't ruin it for us, because I know like in the UK, you guys have ruined it for us. Like we are finished. Personally, I don't think I'll apply for a UK visa because like I've been there. Not a country I think I would stand in the queue for, like to apply for a visa. But again, it's just what it is. Usually, what I don't understand is like how our leaders are so blind to how we are treated like in other countries and immigration and visa applying like application processes, because a lot of these countries, right, that ask us to apply for visas don't need a visa to come to our countries. And I think it's so unfair. I feel like what should happen is that if a country requires you to apply for a visa to enter their country, you should also make them apply for a visa to enter your country. I just feel like it's the fair thing to do, because at the end of the day, it's like, why are we giving you free access to our country and you're not? Doesn't make sense to me. Anywho, I do also need to say that don't be too confident holding the Namibian passport, because honestly, it's not like we have the best passport, but I think we've got a reasonable passport. And always make sure, obviously, that you've got the right visa and that you have all your things and documents in order. So call the embassies before you travel to their country. On the other hand, if obviously you hold a Schengen visa, I have to say it's quite nice, because